The EU and the US, we're opening our borders to them. Experts are saying there's a clear public health risk by doing that. Why does the government think otherwise?
Well, first of all, we've double vaccinated 70% of the adult population here, so we're confident as we come out of lockdown in this country that we're in a much stronger position. And of course, it's only in relation to those who have got an FDA-approved double vaccination from the US, and indeed it applies to EMA-approved double vaccinated people from the EU. It is part of the sure-footed, steady easing out of lockdown, and of course that includes international travel for economic reasons, for various other things.
Yeah, but what about those pesky variants? We don't know they're here until they're here. And then countries like Hungary, they use the Sinopharma vaccine. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, we've said that they would have to be US FDA-approved double vaccines or EMA, and neither those two vaccines that you described have been authorised by those regulators. So actually, I think that demonstrates we've looked at this very carefully.
And as far as the variants are concerned?
Look, we keep an eye on the variants, but because of the 70% double vaccination of our population, and because we're insisting only people from the US, the EU, and perhaps in due course, as we build up confidence in the system, other countries, we proceed on that basis. Because it's people that are double vaccinated, we believe we've got the right level of security and assurance against people who might be at risk of the variant coming in from abroad.
Any other countries in particular that you're looking at the moment?
Well, it's interesting. So already overnight, I've had foreign ministers message me saying, we've noticed the announcement, what can we do to do this on a reciprocal basis? I think the key thing about the EU countries and the US, they're countries where we've got high trust in the mechanism for verifying double vaccination. Those are the kinds of countries that we'd want to pursue in the future.
OK, like?
I'm not going to speculate at this stage, but what I'm saying is about high trust countries, precisely for the reasons you gave. I'm not going to divulge all of the details of that. All I'm saying is that actually what it's done is encourage a conversation reciprocally about how British nationals, British businesses, as well as international businesses can come and travel safely. And I think as we proceed out of lockdown and we start to think about international travel, that's the safe, steady way of doing it with high-trust countries where we can verify the vaccines that their nationals have had in order to come into this country.
Spain must be tearing their hair out there because they were on the green list and they were on the amber plus list, and now they're likely to be on the amber watch list. It's very confusing for people who just want to book a holiday with the kids.
It is. I totally understand that. This is a period of uncertainty as we come out of lockdown. I think you're getting a little bit ahead of where the JBC and the decision will be next week. But of course, what we want to do is, one, open up and with a minimum inconvenience for people. But we've just got to be totally vigilant for all these different permutations of the variants in exactly the way you described, Kay.
So potentially it's moving, you just haven't decided yet?
Well, I can't rule things out that the JBC and the government will decide, but they'll make that decision next week in terms of the traffic light system for all the relevant countries. But I think, personally, feels like the momentum forward is positive because, as I say, because of the double vaccination reaching 70% of the adult population in this country, we've done the job we had to do domestically, and as we see other countries catch up, if you like, I think we're increasingly confident that more countries will go either on amber or onto green.
OK, so just to clarify, people are thinking about booking a holiday to Spain. You're saying book it?
Well, you'll know next week what the latest
What if you had to book
is.
it tomorrow?
You have to judge it on the basis of the traffic light system we've got in place right now. We can't give cast iron guarantees about what the next review system will decide. If we did, it wouldn't be a very meaningful review system.
It's not a no, then. You said, don't get ahead of myself. Is the Prime Minister getting ahead of himself? Because he's saying August the 16th, no more quarantining if you're double jabbed. And he says it's nailed on. I thought you went with data, not dates.
Well, we said, as we came through the roadmap and we came to step 4, that come the 16th of August, we would take that step. I think what he's demonstrating is none of the data is pushing against relaxing that easing up of the test and trace system for those who are double vaccinated. It also reflects not just the levels of transmission and what we know about the link between cases and hospitalisations, but it's also, again, we come back to that key point, Kay, we've got 70% of the adult population double vaccinated. Sure. That's what gives us the assurance. That is data-led.
OK, so why do we not do it now rather than on the 16th of August? Because one of your scientific advisors who came up with the jabs, and his name is Sir John Regis, for the benefit of our viewers, medicine professor at Oxford. He says it's causing so many problems, this lockdown, quarantining, if you will, whatever you want to call it, and actually daily testing is the way forward.
We are doing daily testing, but I think the answer to your question, why do it now, not in, say, 2.5 weeks' time, it's just we know and we can project how many people broadly will have double vaccinated, and that's the level of reassurance we want to get to. I know it's been frustrating. I know it's been an inconvenience. There's been lots of things in this pandemic that have been inconvenient, but the truth is the whole tide, whether it's domestic restrictions, international, is going in the right direction of opening up. But we do need to just be careful, make sure we do it at the right time.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, the bottom line is we're allowing foreigners in the country, but we're keeping Brits locked up.
Well, I'm not sure we're keeping Brits locked up.
2 million.
Well, it's not quite locked up, is it?
Well, you can't leave home.
Well,
how would you describe it?
Look, the reality is, if you're double vaccinated, come the 16th of August, all of that test and trace will not apply. Of course, people coming into this country, all of those rules around test and trace would apply anyway. So there's no double standards here. But of course, we've got to keep a tight grip on what's happening domestically. 16th of August is the point at which, with the level of the vaccinations, we feel comfortable releasing that. It's only 2 weeks away. And of course, there's always the Goldilocks syndrome where some people will say we're going too quick, some people too slow. I think what it demonstrates overall is the trajectory out of lockdown, the trajectory of easing up is sure-footed, steady, irreversible, evidence-based. That's the way we've got to go.
The chairman of PwC Accounting has said that if young people don't return to the office soon, that they will be blighting their careers. Do you think they will?
Well, I think with young people and the way employers speak to their employees, we should use sensitive language. I think young people have borne a huge brunt during this pandemic. I know, talking to students, young people who have graduated and going into the job market. And I think the message we want to send is that in terms of going back to work, yes, of course, employers will take these decisions, but we want to encourage people and we want to give them the reassurance and the confidence to go back to work. Certainly that's I think the message the government will want to send.
So do you think his words were insensitive?
Well, I haven't seen the whole context, but I certainly I certainly think that we should be encouraging young people to get the vaccine, making sure the workplaces are COVID secure, confident environment for people to return to. And certainly I know this as an employer in the SCDO, and I've got a huge network internationally as well as domestically. What I want to do is build up confidence rather than, if you like, take a stick approach and say you've got to get back into the office. Because people are still feeling their way and people have understandable anxieties. I think we are in a position to give reassurance, and that's where the focus should be.
Further, Google, Netflix, among others, are saying that staff need to be double jabbed before they return to work in groups. Do you think that's a good idea?
But we want everyone to be double jabbed. We want.
But should it be a rule that you can't go back to the office until you've been double jabbed, and then you're protecting others as well as yourself?
Well, I can understand why employers think that that would be a smart policy or approach to encourage. Whether or not there should be hard and fast legal rules, I think we need to look at carefully. But our message is overwhelmingly get the jab. We've got we've announced. The first batch of 100 million doses that we're distributing abroad to get the world vaccinated.
Coming to that in a sec.
But I think it shows you the message in this country globally is get vaccinated. Life gets back to normal much more swiftly in a much more confident way if people have got 2 jabs.
OK. Would you be content with that proposal for the FCA, that people would be double jabbed before they came back to work?
We're encouraging everyone to get double jabbed, and certainly we've done that at Post. We've made sure, if you think around the world, we've got as many people double vaccinated as possible. Of course, you've got to look at the individual circumstances. There may be health reasons why people don't. I'd want to be quite sensitive about that. But for those people that can't get vaccinated for health reasons, it's probably a different set of considerations that apply anyway.
We're giving lots of vaccines away to countries like Jamaica and the like, and also COVAX. Is that because we don't want them?
No, at the start of the pandemic, when we did our vaccine programme, we secured multiple sources and supplies and overall the volume of vaccines to make sure we had security of supply. That's why our domestic rollout has been a success. We've always said when we had security and certainty in our domestic programme, we could start giving more. We've already given a huge amount through COVAX, through the financing of COVAX, but we can now, through domestic supply, start to give the 100 million, which will get the world vaccinated. We've got moral reasons for doing that. You look at Jamaica, Laos, Cambodia, some of the countries, Kenya, that we're vaccinating. We feel a sense of moral responsibility, but we also know, bluntly, that we are safer when the rest of the world is safer, whether it's for people going on holiday or whether it's just the ordinary course of international trade that we need and we rely on. So we're doing this for moral reasons, but frankly, we've got a big stake in making sure we get the world vaccinated. And at the G7, the big thing the PM did was encourage an extra billion doses to go into COVAX and that international effort. And the reason we want to do that is we want to get the world adequately vaccinated by the middle of next year rather than on current trajectory, the end of 2024. Think about what that means, not just for us, but for those countries. Massive difference. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
And to that end, I mean, people think, when they think COVAX, they think that it is for countries that can't necessarily afford the vaccines themselves. Wealthier countries are adding to that. If we see countries like Canada, part of the G7, taking from COVAX, does that leave a nasty taste?
Well, I don't think Canada would be eligible to receive from COVAX. I think what you're describing is the supply chains going into COVAX. Look, Canada is a really close partner. We're working with them on all this. They were great at the G7 on all of this. But let's be very clear, COVAX is overwhelmingly the criteria going for the poorest countries in the world. And if I may just say, at the point of the G7, 95% of the COVAX distributed vaccines going to those poorer countries were AstraZeneca, which was produced at cost with £90 million of taxpayers' investment. That shows you this country, what we've provided as a force for good in the world, not just in terms of vaccinating our own people, but the most vulnerable countries around the world. That's what we're all about.
When do you think we can travel around the world again?
As soon as possible. It's part of my bread and butter. But as I said, whether it's with the double vaccinated, reciprocal arrangements, whether it's the amber list, which will the traffic light list, the amber, the green list of countries, they'll be reviewed next week. We'll get there. We won't get there in one fell swoop. We'll get there incrementally, steadily. That's the safe way to do it.
Okay.